Sound, white, Alan, Steve, good? Yeah, great. Fair to say that our community's a lot safer of a community this morning because of what's developed over the last 24 hours. I know all of you have seen the press releases that were issued concerning the Elmer Kabui homicide, 2 men taken into custody in that case, and that serial robber case, Hawkinson, that's been resolved as well within the last 24 hours. So a lot of things to unpack this morning. I'd like to start with Captain Dozier. I know a number of you had questions concerning that Elmer Kabui case. He'll kind of get you up to speed on some of the developments there and do his best to get some of those questions answered. So without further delay, Captain Chris Dozier.
Good morning, everybody. Just wanted first to say, to give credit and congratulations to our homicide squad, CMPD, the divisions that helped with taking these 2 suspects into custody. Everything came together yesterday based on a 2-week investigation that led to evidence indicating these 2 individuals in this crime. Yesterday, one of the suspects was pursued by our officers. We were able to locate his car and then later him. We were able to interview him. He was charged with first-degree murder in this incident. Later in the evening, officers located our other suspect, Jeffrey Ford, who jumped and ran from a vehicle. South Division officers were able to, with the assistance of K-9, get him into custody as well. So today, we obviously have a lot of good news coming out of this. And again, I want to give the media credit for keeping this story on the forefront and getting those surveillance pictures out and the information out. That was critical in leading to the arrest of these 2 individuals. So if anybody has any questions specifically.
Grace, can you say which one of these gentlemen was the trigger man?
I believe Ford was the trigger man in this incident, yes.
He hasn't been charged with murder yet. The other one hasn't been charged with murder, but
Ford has been charged with murder. He had warrants for murder, yes.
And what's the other man going to be charged with?
Murder as well, yes.
Okay.
Yeah.
Captain, how did you come to identify him?
Just through the process, again, is with the surveillance photos, just good investigative work. I can't get into the specifics of how we developed them as suspects, but it was just great work. The detectives worked nonstop on this case and developed the probable cause. So, but I can't speak on the specifics of the investigation.
Who was the guy in the photo? The photo that you released, which of the suspects is that?
We believe that to be Ford.
And was the second suspect also in the store, or was he in the car?
He was in the car.
He did not enter the store. He drove the getaway car.
That's our understanding, yes.
So can you explain yet what those other mystery pictures were?
I can't go into to those.
Is that still relevant?
Those specifics, yes. As part of the investigation, I can't speak to the specifics of those surveillance photos.
So there was a reward out
more
there.
important than the reward in this case?
I'm sorry?
Were the photographs more important than the reward in this case?
I believe so. The surveillance photographs certainly were instrumental, but I think the motivation was to do the right thing rather than to get a monetary reward.
Did either of the suspects have ties to either the Concord area, because I know you were searching up there, and then also Carmel, where the one was found? Did they have ties to either of those areas?
I can't say specifically to either area what their ties were.
Do you know why he was shot? Can you answer that question?
Again, that's what's been so frustrating about this investigation is the why. It didn't have to happen like it did. If the motive is to get money, property, the victim was fully compliant. Would have, and I know as in the past he's been the victim of a robbery, and he's complied and he's given the suspects what they want. So again, that's been the frustration. We don't know why it ended up the way it did. It didn't have to be that way, but again, it just speaks to the cold-bloodedness of this suspect. And again, the community can be relieved now that we have gotten such a dangerous person off the street, because there was going to be nothing that considering what he did in this case, that would have stopped him from doing the same thing again if he did the same type of crime.
Has he robbed before like this?
I can't speak to his history, but we're looking at other offenses that him and this other suspect, Lockhart, could potentially be charged with.
Hampton, can you tell us, is anyone getting their reward money?
I can't speak to that right now.
Were you able to talk to any of the witnesses that you had been looking for, and if so, were they helpful at all?
Okay. We talked a lot of people in this case. I can't say specifically who and what information they were able to provide to us.
What's the relationship between the two suspects? Are they just friends, or have they done crimes before?
Right now, we're still looking into their relationship with each other, and again, that could lead to more criminal charges.
Do you have any indication whatsoever that the victim in this case crossed paths with the two suspects in any fashion?
Right now, there's nothing to indicate that there's any relationship prior to that would have led to this.
You say the victim had been robbed before?
Yes, he'd been the victim. Matter of fact, in that same store of a robbery before, and again, he was compliant and was a good witness for us in that particular case.
How do they do those jobs? How do they keep going back in there and do this?
That's a good question. I knew the victim from 20 years ago. He worked at the store at 10th and Graham, and he was always very gracious to us. Officers came in there. He would give us coffee when it was cold. He would talk with us, and I knew him. And so it was very tough to see and to be a part of this, but to be able to make an arrest in this case is very special to me. It's very special to my guys because of who the victim was and the fact that he had done this for so long and just worked the kind of work he did, obviously, because he enjoyed doing what he did and interacting with people. And for his life to end this way is just tragic. So I'm glad that we were able to bring closure to his family. There's a relief there, but it doesn't bring him back.
Was there a specific break that you guys got that led you to the car? And then I know you probably can't say specifically what that was, but can you talk about that a little bit?
Well, we did have some surveillance of a car. So specifically, what led us to the identification? There's a lot of factors involved with how we identified it. I can't speak specifically to what it was, but we're confident that we do have the car that was used in the robbery.
Can you say if, I mean, there's been a lot of talk getting the public to come forward and help. Can you say if you've gotten a lot of calls into Crime Stoppers, did the public step up and help at all, or was this all investigatory?
No, the community, the public, we were able to get information that was relevant and we were able to use in developing this case. I will say that. So again, that goes to you guys to put these pictures out, to keep the story relevant. That contributed greatly to resolution in this case.
Is there any indication that this could have been tied to any sort of revenge if this victim was part of a crime before and cooperated with you before?
Right now, there's absolutely nothing to indicate that this is any type of a revenge action of revenge or anything like that. Right now, again, it just appears to be a robbery gone bad, and for whatever reason, the suspect killed the clerk for no apparent reason.
Do you know whether or not they went in there with the intention of killing that clerk to leave no witnesses, or was it just a situation where, for whatever reason, it just...
Yeah, I wish I knew. That to say would only be speculation at this point, without him telling us his motivation behind what occurred. I don't think we'll ever know for sure what his motivation or what his intent was.
There have been a streak of other gas station robberies and 7-Elevens that were also hit within the last month. Are they believed to be connected to any other crimes that are ongoing investigations?
Well, we're looking at other crimes right now to see if these two individuals are involved. And again, we may determine that in the future. So if we do, we'll bring charges against them. But that is still part of the investigation.
Colleen, go ahead.
I actually forgot the second one. Can you tell me if, God damn.
Good, Rob.
Have you recovered a murder weapon?
I can't say.
We'll take one more. Colleen, can you remember her question?
I can't remember.
Jane, take Colleen's question.
Can you tell us at this point what was gone from the gas station? Did they end up taking?
I can't speak to what they took.
Did they take some things?
Yes, they did take property from the store, but I just can't say as to what.
Okay, we're gonna get Robin.
The car that was found in Concord, that's believed to be the car that they used in the
We
robbery.
believe it to be, yes.
That's the photo that you released, remember the photo?
Yes,
That's the same one?
Was that a stolen vehicle?
No, it wasn't stolen.
All right, we're going to let the captain get back to work, right? And anything in the way of developments, we'll be sure to push out through the Public Affairs Office. You know, the captain talked a lot about all the work that went into apprehending these two people, whether it would be the community, the media, detectives with Homicide Patrol. One particular group of people that we really shouldn't overlook is our Violent Criminal Apprehension Team. These men and women just do tremendous work in keeping our community safe, and oftentimes really don't get much attention for it. They're kind of a button-down, behind-the-scenes kind of a group of men and women, but I mean, they've been on the books since 2012. The Violent Criminal Apprehension Team, VCAT, responsible, played a large part in apprehending the two murder suspects from the Elmer Kabui case yesterday. Just throw some numbers at you. Since their inception in 2012, 140 plus murder suspects they've taken off of our streets, keeping our community safe. Armed robbery suspects, more than 1,000, actually almost 1,100 armed robbery suspects. These are the worst of the worst that these guys and gals are scooping up. Assault with deadly weapon suspects. These are people who are out there assaulting people with guns. More than close to 100, 98 cases, 98 people that they've taken off the streets of our community since 2012. So really shouldn't overlook the work that they do, that they did yesterday. Again, just a large reason as to why our community is a safe community. And big hat tip to our Violent Criminal Apprehension Team. The work is just tremendous, and I think the numbers support that. So, Sergeant Brian Sharp with robbery, going to unpack. We had a serial robbery suspect, and again, you guys played a tremendous role in that case as well, in those cases, and upwards of 7 cases that this person was responsible for. You just kept pushing those pictures, kept alerting the community about this individual, and we'd like to think that was a pretty big help in bringing this suspect into custody in the short order without anyone being injured. They don't always end as successfully as that does, as I'm sure Sergeant Sharp will attest to. He'll unpack it. He'll get you up to speed and answer a couple of questions. Sergeant Sharp.
Good morning. Thank you for being here again. A couple weeks ago, we brought to your attention a series of robberies we were having throughout the city, committed by a white male suspect. At that time, he had committed 6 robberies. And that night, after we put the press conference, had this press conference, he committed another one for a 7th. The attention it got, I think, slowed him down quite a bit. We hadn't seen him for a week and a half. He laid off. But unfortunately for him, we didn't. We kept doing what we do. The detectives did what they did. And I tell you, 20 years in the police department, it's some really good detective work from our detectives and from our analysts, quite frankly, our crime analysis division. They were given a bunch of information that frankly made my eyes cross. I mean, it was just mumbo jumbo to me. And they sorted through it, and I'm telling you, I gave it to them yesterday, our analyst, and within 15 minutes she called me and said, okay, I got him. And she sent me a picture, and I said, well, that's him. And shortly thereafter, we just asked her, like we always do, where is he? And shortly thereafter, he was taken into custody. His name is Lucas Matthew Hawkins. His date of birth was 8/13 of 1982, and there was certainly a major sense of urgency with him, because we felt like he was getting away with it without leaving much behind, and it made it a very difficult investigation, very frustrating, because he was just leaving nothing behind for us to go on, and. We just never stopped. The detectives came up with some very innovative ways to find him, and they did. And it turns out he's quite a violent person, and we've been able to stop him, and built a very, very strong case against him.
Brian, can you tell us where you arrested him and what did he do for a living?
Well, I can tell you we arrested him in a parking lot on South Boulevard.
How did you get him?
The help of his employer.
Can you say what he did for a living?
I can tell you he was a landscaper. I can't tell you who for.
What part of Charlotte was it? What, South End or what?
It was near South End, yes. Yes.
Did you leave any evidence behind? How, like, what did the crime analysts, like, what did you guys piece together?
Well, there was no physical evidence left behind. There was other electronic evidence left behind, and it's very difficult stuff to do. At least for me, it is. And they did a phenomenal job in sorting through a lot of analytical data, and in a very, I can't express enough how quickly. And I walked out of the building, I got in my car, I was driving down the road, and they called me and said, or our analyst called me and said, I got him. And that was it.
Are you talking about, did his cell phone basically leave you some breadcrumbs?
Well, I can't comment on whether or not it was his cell phone or not. Yeah, but there was, he did leave behind some electronic information for us.
Did the employer recognize him, and is that how you ended up finding him?
No. We just found his employer and asked him if we could speak with him. That's all.
Did someone recognize
Where could we find him and if we could speak with him? That's all.
Any idea why he was doing this?
And it was a drug habit.
Would it be connected to what we've seen in this community with opioids?
Not opioids, no. It wasn't that, but he is a heavy drug user.
What kind of drug?
I don't know, honestly. I don't know. I can only assume by seeing what I saw when we arrested him.
Do you believe the subway was the last robbery he made?
I believe that was the last one in Charlotte. I can't comment about other agencies.
So he's suspected in possibly other robberies?
That is my understanding. He is suspected in others. Yes.
Did he tell you guys anything? I mean, I'm not asking you to tell us what he told you, but
he did.
Did he talk?
He did.
Hey, Sarge, I swear to God, I'm losing my mind.
First day back from vacation.
Short-term memories first.
Yeah, it is.
Anybody else?
You said he was a violent, obviously these are violent crimes, but do you know more about his violent past besides?
He has a violent criminal history from another state.
Oh, I remember.
What kind of violent crimes?
Same type of thing. A lot of them were gun-based and robbery-based crimes.
What state was it? What state was that?
I can't comment on where he's from.
Jane Lester, please.
Did he come close to hurting anyone here in any of these crimes, or did he say or suggest that he would?
Well, I think that when you point a gun at somebody, the only, coming close is here to there. That's all it takes. Even if you inadvertently get nervous or scared, that's all it takes. So to say that he came close, I'd say yes. But he wasn't overly aggressive, in his approach or his robberies. He just wasn't. But it's when you're pointing guns at people and the trauma it causes, and a lot of these people that were robbed, not that it matters, but a lot of the cashiers in these places were very young. So it's something that's going to sit with them the rest of their lives. I've seen it. We see it firsthand a lot, but in this particular case, we've seen it quite a bit. They were young cashiers working in these places, and the first thing they wanted to do was call their mother or their father and get them there. So it's some people say, well, nobody got hurt. Well, somebody did get hurt. For the rest of their lives, they're hurt. Sometimes it's better just to have a scrape on your arm or a cut. It heals pretty quick, and you forget about it, and that's it. But when that violent crime type of thing happens, it never leaves you.
Jane Lester.
Can you speak to how he was choosing these businesses? It was mostly nicer areas, it seemed like.
I think he was just choosing areas where he blended in real well. I just tell you, he would rob a place and then he'd just walk away, and nobody thought anything of it. He just blended in real well. Had he not been in areas where he blended in well, it would not have been as easy.
you believe he was under the influence of drugs while he was committing these armed robberies?
You know, I can't comment. I wouldn't. It would just be an assumption of mine. So I wouldn't be able to comment on that. Yeah, I'm sorry.
Are you suggesting basically when you say he was in areas where he blended in real well, because of his skin color, he was in South Charlotte and other areas where people wouldn't have thought twice? Is that?
Well, I think that he dressed in a just like normal for these particular areas, and I believe they were predominantly white neighborhoods. Yes, and that's he would park his vehicle in these neighborhoods too. And certainly that, I think that helped disguise him to some degree. I think the places that, he would rob also weren't extremely busy places. So he would go in, and like I said, one of the places, there were 5 or 6 customers in there just hanging out, and they never even knew what happened until the police showed up. So it was his actions, it was a little bit of everything he did that made him just blend in well.
How satisfying was it for you and your unit to get this guy, especially given when you guys had a presser and he goes out the very same night? It's almost like he's throwing it in your face.
Yeah, that was frustrating. I'll tell you, that was extremely frustrating that night. And but I can't. For me, I love my job. It was very satisfying, because we actually arrested him ourselves. And we obviously do things very safely. We had a plan. So it was extremely satisfying for us to end this, especially the way it did. Look, we always ask for and enjoy the help of the community and the news, and it's great to have tips, and we got tons of tips. But when it's just good old-fashioned police work, for police officers and for detectives, it just feels good. And this was just good old-fashioned police work right from A to Z. So it wasn't like, Mama called us and said, "Oh, I know that's my son. That's definitely my son," and, made it easy on us. But it was just old-fashioned good police work.
Did you say that he lived in the area?
He does. He lives in Charlotte. Yeah, he lives in Charlotte.
All right, we're going to get Sergeant Sharp back to it. He was helped by his...
What other state were you talking about that he comes from?
I won't comment on where he's from. Thank you.
We appreciate you being here. You'd almost picking up on his voice for those of you who are really paying attention. Sarge is a little gravelly this morning, as was Chris Dozier, by the way. Both of them a little bit under the weather, and I suspect it's because of the long hours and pressure and hard work that they've been involved in over the last couple of days, and thankfully that hard work has paid off. Just to dovetail a little bit off of what Sergeant Sharp said about our analysts, a lot of you in the room probably don't know, but all of those requests that you guys make for records and data and statistics and numbers, that's being done, all that magic in the room right beside this one, by just a bevy of analysts, men and women who just really crunch the numbers. They're wizards at what they do, and it's not just limited to what they do for the media. Oftentimes it's pulling together complex cases like this one with that string of robberies, that serial robbery series, and them doing most of the heavy lifting. So we can't say enough about the work that our analysts do, and community is just that much safer because of them. So what do we got before we break for, hopefully, for the Christmas weekend?
Just a quick question about gift card crimes that are going on. I think the sheriff's department pushed this out. Thieves apparently carefully opening packaging, copying the numbers or letters on the gift cards, and then when they're activated, they regularly check whether they're activated, and then steal the information, the money on there when someone activates it. Can you talk about that crime and how CMPD is responding to that?
I'll work with our fraud guys and find out exactly what it is that they're seeing there in that regard. I mean, disappointing, right? Especially this time of the year, with everyone having so much on their mind, the holidays looming, and to have this challenge to have to negotiate as well. I mean, it couldn't be an enjoyable experience. How much of it we're seeing, I'll get up with our folks to let you know. I don't know if it's anything we're seeing a lot of, but for the sheriff's office to push something out like that, I guess it's something that they're seeing on their radar to a certain extent.
Hey, Rob. The U.S. Attorney General was in Charlotte and talked about forming a violent crime task force.
Yes.
Was CMPD informed ahead of time, and is CMPD at the table with this?
Yes, yes, and yes.
What role will you guys play?
It's my understanding that we're going to be devoting resources and staffing, along with our federal, state, and local partners, to take part in this violent crime task force, which will be assembled. I think the primary focus of the violent crime task force will be violent offenders and robbery suspects.
We've seen several cases of people now that it's getting colder warming up their vehicles, and then I've seen police reports people go ahead and steal them. Probably happens every year. But is there some kind of message you would have for drivers, and can you give us an idea of what you're seeing?
Yeah. In fact, we just posted, what was the number, Melissa, the other day? 638. And I'll get that number for you. I want to say it was somewhere in the neighborhood of 600 over the last year of, I can't say that it was people just leaving their cars warming up, but cars that were stolen because people left their keys in it. Now, you picked an awfully odd day to ask about that. We're blooming around 70 some odd degrees, but it's something we see every year, especially as the temperatures drop. You know, people want to stay inside for a couple more minutes, let that car get a little toasty outside, and, you know, it just makes it awfully easy for people who want to steal your stuff, steal your car. We'd encourage people, regardless of whether it's 95 or 25, take your keys out of the car, right? Take your belongings out of the car. Harden that target. Don't make yourself easy prey for these people who want to take your things. We see it time and time again, and you know, it's frustrating because so much of it's preventable.
Rob, we've known this was coming, but we're about to mark the end of the year with a pretty high homicide count. Can you speak to, besides the Violent Crime Task Force, anything the department will be doing differently in the new year? Yeah, and I think Chief Putney's made it abundantly clear that he is putting a lot of stock in our community empowerment initiative, which was kicked off over in Hidden Valley, I want to say a couple of months ago, and be expanding it into our Lakewood community in the not too distant future. A lot of different programs in that community empowerment initiative when it comes to mediation, when it comes to conflict resolution, when it comes to other programs like re-entry, when suspects are being released from prison or being released from jail. Family matters, you know, through counseling and therapists. We have just a multitude of partners, Cardinal Innovation, Goodwill, just a number of partners. Good-hearted partners that we really believe we're going to start turning a corner with a lot of this violent crime because of programs like that community empowerment initiative. But, you know, I think you can have program after program, initiative after initiative. You know, and the chiefs made this, you know, pretty clear that, you know, it can't be all things police. You know, I know that we're one of the more visible entities when it comes to violent crime organizations, but, you know, Chief said it, and I think a lot in the community would agree that, you know, that somewhere along the line there's got to be some personal responsibility, right? Somewhere along the line people are going to have to realize that you can't settle minor differences with gunplay, right? That result in major consequences, right? And we're still seeing a lot of that. You know, young people that I'm mad at you, you're mad at me. Instead of just settling it, you know, we're settling it with some grave consequences by using guns. And personal responsibility is something that I think we all as a community need to really underscore this year. We're going to have our programs, we're going to have our initiatives, we're going to triple down our efforts as a law enforcement organization to keep our community a safe community, but somewhere along the line there's got to be some personal responsibility there.
The Columbia City Council just passed a ban on bump stocks. Wondering, does CMPD support a similar ban?
I don't know what the position here is with that. We'll say that we're very much in support of lawful gun owners locking their weapons away and safeguarding them. One of the bigger issues that we see isn't bump stocks in our community. It's lawful gun owners who are leaving their guns prone to being stolen in their cars, in their trucks that are left unlocked at malls, at restaurants, at bars. You know, that has a larger impact than any kind of bump stock or anything that's being floated out in Columbia right now.
Just one other follow-up about the gift card situation. With all these crimes targeting gift cards and making national news, do you think you should make consumers shy away from buying gift cards?
I think that's a personal choice that consumers are going to have to make. You know, I'd be hard-pressed to give anyone advice on shopping. In fact, I'm just finishing buying them in the next couple of days. That's
Telling stories on
between
yourself there,
us,
Ron.
right? Sure,
Yeah.
sure. But yeah, exercise due diligence. Do your homework and do the best you can to protect yourself. I know that information came out from the sheriff's office. Again, I'll find out just exactly how much of that we're seeing here within our organization and what our people are saying. And speaking of Christmas, I wanted to also mention you guys have just played a tremendous role in our CMPD Christmas Explorer project. 43 years this project's been around for 533 families that are being helped this year, 1,500 children, in large part to our good-hearted community. I know that the media has really done a full court press in getting that information out. I just wanted to remind everyone that tomorrow, 7:30 tomorrow morning, we all get together over at the warehouse over on Arrowwood and start distributing those gifts. And I tell you, if you haven't covered it, I've covered it as a reporter, and I've worked it as a CMPD employee. If you haven't done it, you really should just get out there and do it. I mean, to see the looks on the faces of these families who aren't as fortunate as most of us in this room, it really reminds you of what the holidays are all about. So, hat to the media for helping us keep this on the front burner, and certainly our community to step up and help 1,500 children. 533 families. For the last 43 years, they've been doing this, and it's not lost on us. And I know the communities appreciate it as well. So I didn't want the day to go by without me saying it. And I suspect that this will probably be the last time that we all get together before the holidays. So what do we have for the greater good before we head in different directions? Melissa, do you have that number?
368 as of mid-December.
So almost.
The number of cars that were stolen with keys in the ignition, 368.
It's a lot of people. A lot of cars.
Since
Last year, yeah. In the past year.
Okay, thank you.
Cool? Everybody good? All right. We appreciate it. Thanks so much.
To keep our streets clean, to make sure that we can move around our city safely.